Hello, traders. It is 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Tuesday, the 16th of January, 2024. Thanks for joining me. This is episode number 2604. Last week, I was gone, business travel, Latin America, where it was in Fahrenheit 85 degrees in the morning when I flew out and arrived into Chicago, where it was negative 10. Negative 10. So in that one day, I had a 95 Fahrenheit swing. What is that? What's 95 Fahrenheit? Like 38 degrees centigrade? Something like that. And it is frigid out, cold, very cold, lots of alerts, schools closed, all of that good stuff. So here we are today on another Trader Bite. I want to remind you that derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. What do we have today? How is everybody? How did you start the year? How has this trade been treating you? It's been relatively choppy. Hopefully you're holding up pretty well. Let us know how you're doing. This is the Convergent Trading Pre-Market Summary Sheet. Every day we prepare this to kind of take in the big picture, not get caught up in the micro or the minutia of day trading or scalping or whatever that is. So, the market's overall posture is mild risk off. The biggest loser today is the Russell, dropping 20 points today. Pretty big for the Russell. Big day to start. But the overall sentiment's mild risk off. We did get Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs reporting, as well as PNC this morning. Morgan Stanley came in at, let's see, is that correct? Hang on a second. I think this source reported incorrectly. They reported 85 cents versus 101. Can somebody verify what Morgan Stanley reported? Because I have one source that says it came in at 85 cents versus $1.01, which is a miss. And then another source that says it came in at $1.13 versus $1.01, which is actually a profit. In my opinion, $1.13 is probably correct. Goldman Sachs blew it out of the park, came in at $5.48 versus $3.51. It's nice to be Goldman. And PNC came in at $3.16 versus $2.94. Yeah, it seems like it was off to me. Yeah, it seemed off. So this isn't correct. That source isn't correct. So that's Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, PNC. We have Interactive Brokers after the close, reporting a revenue of 1.13 billion and an estimated $1.55 per share. Word has it that China is directing its institutional investors not to sell stocks. China's stock market has been relatively unstable lately. China's mulling $139 billion stimulus package. The UK unemployment came out in line. The US dollar strengthening quite a bit. As you can see in front of you here, the dollar is up 84 basis points. 86 cents basically. It was up a little bit more earlier. The German zoo economic sentiment came in a lot stronger. The U.S. House and Senate agree on a $78 billion framework for tax benefits for businesses and low-income families. We went over the Goldman Sachs and Morgan reports, and then Shell announced that it's suspending Red Sea shipments for now. This should have a pretty positive impact on crude, but you see that crude is still stuck below $73, still hanging out at that 72.70 area we talked about. U.S. non-New York Fed manufacturing misses by quite a bit. That number came out pretty badly. Came in the expectation, the consensus was -5 came in at negative 43.7. The New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. What's left for today? We have BOE's Bailey talking at 10 Eastern. Fed's Waller, you need to pay attention to this one, at 11. And the Japanese Reuters Tenkan Index. And then we have these really big Chinese numbers in the evening. House Price Index, GDP growth is a top tier number, industrial production is a top tier number, retail sales and unemployment rate all come out of China at 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. this evening. That's what's on deck. One of the things you want to notice is that these numbers have been changed. Again, the rotations for the Nasdaq have gone up a bit, and so have they in the Dow. You can see that ranges are continuing to fall week to week. These arrows are week to week. Ranges keep falling. Also, the overnight stats are pretty much unchanged. And that's about it. Despite the ETF, Bitcoin still sits at $43,000, so that was a lot of hoopla for not much price gain there, and that's where that stands. Okay, so what do we have for structure? So far today, the initial condition for the S&P was multi-distribution. We open, we immediately fall, and then we form this multi-distribution profile. We're filling in the middle, so we're trading from edge to edge here. We're filling in the middle, and it's becoming more and more balanced. We've held below the full session VWAP and mid throughout the session, but what we have here is a weak high, 2 attempts, a local double top at 48.05. We're flirting with the 4800. We're opening pretty lazy this morning. I'm completely ignoring yesterday's action. Don't really care about yesterday's action as it was a holiday. But overall, what do we have versus the prior day? We have a push lower. So we made an attempt. Remember last week I said that if we take out 48.15 to the upside, 48.15 to the upside, if we take that out, then we're very likely to make a run for that 48.39.75, which was the high of last year. Very likely. And we did take out the 48.15, but it failed to go to and challenge the all-time high. We're missed by 5 ticks. We went to 38.50 versus 39.75 and are coming off. The Nasdaq's actually a lot weaker than this. So bigger picture, slightly bigger picture. This is what we have. We're looking to challenge this day right here. Okay? And what we did is we opened and we tried to push higher and we came right off, and then we ended up having a range extension down. And what we did, as I zoom into this day, again, ignore this day here. This is MLK Day. This is a holiday, so it doesn't really count. But what we did, as you can see here in this profile, is we rejected these higher prices. Okay, so we open, we take out the prior day's high, which is all good, pretty bullish. Now we're really gunning for that 39.75. And then we squeeze to 38.50. Lots of collisions up here. We had a lot of collisions on the way up. It just completely stalled out, and buyers were completely absorbed. If you look at the order flow, you'll see that buyers were absorbed very obviously. Lots of big dots on my Edge Pro X Active screen. And then they finally give that up and turn the other way. And what they did is they left us with an excess high. They left us with an excess high. And that excess starts at 25.50. 25.50, and so that's the number I'm watching today. I want to see how they treat the 25.50 if they come up here. You can see the overnight high was 23, and then that double top was in the 08 region down here. So we're kind of a long ways from challenging this area. To me, coming in here today, it's relatively weak. We're gapping down versus the last auction. We are basically falling below this. We're challenging and falling below this 4804 area. So you can see there's support resistance kind of formed right here. We're opening below it, so the expectation is if we do go and challenge that double top, we're likely to see ourselves struggling at that 4804 area or so. So that's the expectation this morning. Hang on, let me change this chart. Let's look at the action. So actually that double top's 4805 right in here. Actually this is the area. So 4803, 4804, we poked through last time and ended up coming back up. So this is kind of the over underline currently, but if we make our way through this value area over the next couple of days, I'm looking for this 25.50 area, and that would give me an indication if we start hitting the 25.50 and climbing through this excess, it's likely to squeeze a lot of folks, and I'm expecting new highs 48.40 to be challenged, and then the next area above is 48.50, like we've been talking about now for some time. So since we made that 48.39.75 high. So this morning, looking for an open, looking for that 48.05 to be challenged, expecting it to push and then consolidate before coming back and regaining the 48.15 16 area. That's what I'm looking for. There was a day last week where I had expected, it was this day right here, where I had the same expectation. We were opening well above 48.15. The expectation was to pull back into the 48.15 and then push all-time highs, and then that day it exploded to the downside. Both of my scenarios were completely wrong. And to me, looking around for, what's going on here? Is this establishing a bearish engulfing pattern and the beginning of a rotation or a swing down into the low 4700s, or is this some sort of a news phenomenon and we're probably going to regain this zone again? And by the end of the day, it had regained the prior day's range, didn't bother closing below. That would be quite bearish. It regained basically the prior day's close, and then the next day opened higher. To me, this was kind of a blip more than anything. I'm not sure what was going on that day, but all indications, including the overnight session, was indicating that buyers were probably in control, and the 48.39.75 was likely to be challenged. We went to 32.25. So this morning, the big target again is 48.15. So this is a gap to settle trade. The gap to settle trade gets triggered on a take and hold of 48.05. That's the setup. That would be the setup. The secondary, of course, is open, challenge, push, come back, weak, retest, impulse down through the open, putting us below the open, and now we're looking for to the short side, and now we're looking for this thing to trickle down and retest the lower excess that was left behind last week. Okay? So last Thursday. So that's the secondary scenario, in that we see that we are not able to push any higher. Do you get this? These are the plays. Okay. For the NQ, which is relatively weaker, if you could see here, the NQ's all-time high is 165 or so, 17165, and NQ pulled way down versus the ES and came right back up, and where the ES was only 5 ticks from its high of the year, the NQ, you can see, is quite a bit off. It's 100 points off, and Friday there was no challenge at all. This, on a relative basis, the ES went up here, the NQ remained down below. Very balanced profile on Friday, very Gaussian volume distribution on Friday, completely balanced. And then, since then, the high has been 17,024 and the low is 16,811 this morning, and it's kind of been stuck inside of the range of what it did yesterday. So to me, the NQ is really not interested in the challenge. The last thing I want to talk about here is, if you're a Convergent member, you probably saw the images I posted, the overviews that I posted for the ES, NQ, and CL. I'll cover those here, but I don't have time for all the detail. But what we have here, this is a composite that was created from the rally day, the breakout day of December 13th. So we leave the breakout day intact, and then we look at what it has done since. The ES was unable to challenge the 4708 singles and fill those in. It started to, as you can see here, and it was quickly bought back up. It's unable to challenge that. The ES also has this area around 4801, 4802, and then above that, 4825.50 gives us the value area high of the microcomposite in volume and TPOs, in addition to the excess high. And so where are we? We are below the dividing line for the ES for these two distributions, the lower distribution being soft. And we have gone as far down as 47.85 here. So we are just stuck in a 120 point range for the last month. It's just right now the buyers are seeing a challenge at higher prices. There's just not that much interest, and sellers seem to be firm at the highs. Every time we make a new high, we see a lot of collisions, and we see buyers just fizzling out as they're being absorbed. So to me, it just seems like there's more. It's likely to be more of the same until we have our next big event. Okay, so what do we have that's hot in front of us? Not too much. We have the inflation rate out of Great Britain tomorrow, retail sales out of the US tomorrow morning, building permits on Thursday, the inflation rate out of Japan, which is an important one, on Thursday as well. That's at 6:30 p.m. Great Britain's retail sales on Friday, and Michigan's sentiment on Friday as well. This is a prelim. This is a mover. And then beyond that, there really isn't all that much to talk about. I mean, even for the rest of the month, we have other central banks reporting on interest rates, but the Fed is not. So to me, this may be a chop fest for quite some time. Just prepare yourself emotionally for that. Let's look at the NQ. You can see the NQ has these multiple areas where the action is kind of log jammed right here, right here. Of course, we have the high. This is 65. This is 065. This is 900. 16,900. I've referenced this price quite a bit. 830 is the acceptance area. 830, and then we're pretty much clean and clear all the way down to 580, 16,580. So the NQ is in this pretty deep discovery zone, about 750 points or so, back and forth, back and forth. The interesting one still is crude. Look at that crude composite. Clear rejection at the high, acceptance in the 74 area, 73.60 or so, acceptance again at the 72.50 where we are now, and a taper, like a pretty rough taper at the low. This is a weak taper. To me, crude still looks technically like it might discover down from here, but what it's doing is it's filling in the camelback on this thing, the double distribution. We're just ping-ponging up and down, up and down, up and down. But there's quite a bit of structure in crude. You look at the TPO chart, and there's quite a bit to work with here. Okay, so that's all of it. Good luck. Don't forget that on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about preparation. So there's an hour-long public event to talk about preparation as a key element of success in trading. It's really an important talk. I'll cover some of the process that I'm following and that we advocate over at Convergent Trading, and I'll be happy to take your questions. Again, this is on YouTube. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to give up information. Just show up at 1 p.m. on January 18th. Follow the link. The link is also provided in the chat. Follow that link and you'll be able to set a notification on YouTube to be able to attend. And of course, as always, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. Good luck. Take care.